You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps? This is what happens when you feed a stoner scrambled eggs. This is what happens when you fool a stranger.
And that's it?
That's it.
Okay. It looks so much larger from the text size on my computer.
Okay, so there is a second part, but I will give you a hint if you don't
Okay.
have a guess up front. And the hint is this is the TV edit of the quote.
Oh.
The Comedy Central edit specifically.
Um, is it Half Baked?
It is not Half-Baked. How about I read you the original one?
Okay.
This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass, Larry. This is what happens, Larry. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
Wow.
And
I don't think that's an Adam Sandler movie, right?
no, it is a movie you 1,000,000% have seen. 1,000,000% have seen.
Oh my goodness.
Because you and I both love this movie. We both love the director.
Huh. Is this a Tarantino thing?
It is not Tarantino.
You see what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. So is that a clue that it's like French in some way?
No. That is just that phonetically it matches up to the other to the real quote. Because the director did go and have the actor record the lines for my understanding, record the lines for the TV edit.
On Comedy Central.
Yes. It's a humongous cult movie. It was not very well received when it came out in theater.
Like what time frame?
Late 90s. I don't know the specific year, but it is late 90s.
Any actor hints?
I feel like if I give you an actor hint, it will give it away. It is 1998. Oh, maybe I can give you a couple. There might be one I could give you that wouldn't give it away. It has Tara Reid in it. She obviously is not the one making this quote.
Is this American Pie?
It is not.
Okay. Tricky.
I really thought the real quote would give it away.
Seriously blinking. But I'm gonna try to cheat on Letterboxd, so let me see if I can narrow this down. So 1998 was the year.
Yes, 1998.
It's some kind of raunchy comedy with a cleaned up Comedy Central edit.
Yes. To be fair, they probably had to edit the living shit out of this whole movie. This is a very, very rated R movie.
Very, very rated R.
Yes. Oh, and specifically, you gave this movie 4 stars.
Is it it's not something about Mary, is it?
It is not There's Something About Mary.
Car.
I believe I gave this movie 5 stars.
It's not basketball, is it?
I did give the movie 5 stars. No, it is not basketball.
Gosh.
Oh, you're going to feel real bad if you don't get this, I'm pretty sure.
Gosh, I already have it narrowed down to comedies.
I will give you another actor. It has Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, is this Lebowski?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You and I have unfinished business.
Oh? And what's so stinking about it?
The moment a patriot feeling, spirit to start.
I think this just might be my masterpiece.
I didn't know if that one would give it away, but clearly it did. That was John Goodman destroying a car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now the Larry's clicking for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to the Average Joe's Movie Clipcast. This is Justin.
And I'm Joey.
Tonight we continue our series of Joey favorites as we revisit Goodfellas, which he first introduced to me on his modest college dorm room TV. And then we will double down on movies that Joey loves as we stir up some musically tragic romance from La La Land, 2016.
And just a heads up, we do discuss our full thoughts on films. So if you've not seen a movie, just skip forward to avoid any spoilers. And I'm just going to be frank, if you haven't seen these movies, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Please go watch them. They are fantastic. Both just critically acclaimed. They're very entertaining. They're just fantastic. And you'll hear us talk about it. But yeah.
All right, and if you want to be a part of the Movie Clubcast, just hit subscribe, leave a comment. We answer, and we'd love to hear from you. So, what's new with you, Mr. Joey?
Nothing really. I beat Horizon Forbidden West. Took about 95 hours. Beat that. Got the Platinum Trophy.
What's the plot of that game?
Have you played Horizon Zero Dawn? Okay, so it's the sequel to Horizon Zero Dawn. It is a sci-fi game, I guess, technically. It is set about 1,030 years in the future from now.
Mm-hmm.
And in the future, the humanity has survived an apocalypse and is very primitive.
Okay.
Like spears, bows, huge, tribes, again, that kind of thing. But there are giant, like, mechanical animals all over the world. Some of them are dinosaurs, some of them are other animals. And Forbidden West is the sequel to the first game. They're both very widely praised for how good the story is and the gameplay. They're big open world games. A lot of avenues that you can go down. So
very cool. Yeah, I've seen the poster before. Yeah, I think I saw like a saber-tooth tiger and some like character with like wearing fur or something. So
yeah, probably Aloy, the main character. Her tribe, the Nora, they wear what you would kind of think of as more like very based off of like different Native American like tribes and stuff, which a lot of the kind of the garb and stuff is, which is kind of like a neat little thing that they did. Outside of that, watched a few more movies more towards the end of the month. Watching some football, ready for the Super Bowl, or for the, I guess we're recording this on Friday. The
championship weekend's coming up.
Yep, is this Sunday. So this weekend ought to be fun. It's the Royal Rumble, and now that Vince has been fired, I can kind of watch that guilt free. I guess he wasn't fired; he resigned after this new round of allegations came out. So good to see him skedaddle out of there.
Yeah, I saw kind of a bunch of B-roll of him from recent years, and so he's had a lot of like plastic surgery and shit.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then so I got a buddy of mine coming over. We're gonna make some dip. We're making some like meatballs and barbecue sauce. We're gonna just watch the Rumble, have a good time, and then when I get off work Sunday, we're gonna watch the late game. I'll miss the whole first game, which I think is the AFC game, is the early game.
That's right. Yep. Ravens, and hopefully the Ravens beat the Chiefs, and
Oh no, thank you. No, Ravens boo. Ravens boo. Do you hate the Chiefs because they've been winning, or do you hate them because the
I don't
media
hate
covers
them
Taylor?
really at all. I just would rather another team get in this year.
I mean, I guess that's fair, but like this year, like if they make it this year, like without the net, like all the different weapons and all the issues they've had with the receiving core, like and having to actually go on the road, I think that would be impressive.
Since I watched the documentary about like the miserable history of the Vikings and all our close calls, I'm a little more pulling for the teams that haven't been there. Haven't quite got there with the Lions yet. I just kind of want to see them and the 49ers duke it out and have a good game. But I know the Ravens have too. But actually, my nephew's a Ravens fan, so I guess I kind of have some leniency there. But yeah, I just rather. I mean, Lamar Jackson's great quarterback. Nice to see him in the big game.
It would be good to see him there. He's finally got some playoff success. I definitely don't think that he should win the MVP. I definitely feel like that should be Josh Allen or like Run CMC, but we'll see. I mean, he had a great year. Honestly, and this isn't even like I'm a Cowboys fan. Like, if it's supposed to be off of stats for the regular season, it's Dak. Like, it's Dak Prescott, even though he choked real big in the playoffs. But I'm down with the Chiefs. I have nothing, honestly, against the Ravens. I just think I don't know. For some reason, I just want the Chiefs to go more. I really don't want the 49ers to go because, again, Cowboys fan and that long-standing rivalry, but Run CMC is a great running back, and I would love to see him get his after being, like, robbed of a Heisman.
Oh, you're talking about Christian McCaffrey. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about with these lingo?
Yeah, Run C-Mac, but I've just heard him called Run CMC for so long. And then there's Big Cock Brock, of course. It would be great if, Big Cock Brock got one. That's what this game with the Niners and Lions. You got the quarterback Big Cock Brock for the Niners, and then you got Big Dick Dan for the Lions because like everywhere on the field is fourth down territory for him. He doesn't care. That and his offense. So.
You're really into it.
I saw someone call the Goffense, and I just thought it was hilarious. I saw it somewhere on the internet like yesterday, and I was like, "That's funny." So, also kind of to segue back into what we're talking about. So if we did a movie, not we, but if someone did a movie on the life of Jared Goff, who would be cast to play Jared Goff in that movie?
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm at. I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl. In a couple weeks after that. So ought to be good times. I would love to see your Vikings actually get there, like the teams that have never won. I would love like a Minnesota Buffalo Super Bowl.
Yeah, that'd
like
be cool.
the two 0-4 teams. Just always, and neither one have been in so long.
Yep.
And then like it'd be like Stephon versus his old team, and there would just be some cool stuff there.
It'd be interesting if Diggs stays around for another year. He likes to stir up a lot of drama. So.
I mean, he's really good. So I mean, I guess it really depends on how much drama is there between him and Josh Allen. Because I mean, obviously Josh Allen is your team. He is the guy. But if he goes away, you've either got to draft somebody or go and get somebody. And I don't know if there are any other wide receivers out there. So, I mean, and they're gonna be too far back in the draft to get like Marvin Harrison Jr. or something like that without selling the farm. So,
good points.
So
yeah, 2024 definitely starting off weird for me. Life's been all thrown out of whack. But silver lining, I've been spending a lot more time with my dad, watching a lot more guy movies. So I'll be talking about those here in a few minutes, and a lot more solitude, just kind of reflecting on life. So hopefully bounce back pretty soon from all that nonsense. So, alrighty, let's get into what we've been watching lately with the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right, and I stuck pretty traditional, good, bad, ugly for me. How about you?
I did Prison, Naples, India.
Eclectic. All right, well, is that like an Italian thing? Let's get into it.
Naples is The Equalizer 3.
Oh, never saw 2.
Oh, bruh, what are you doing with your life? So it's
Wasn't a big
set.
fan of the first one.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
You don't have to be in more into some guy movies. Do you not like Fuqua? Do you not like Denzel?
I like Denzel, but I don't know. It's just the first one that didn't really get me. I don't know.
You should rewatch that.
Okay.
And come back to me. Anyway, this movie starts off on Sicily, then goes to Naples, and like 99% of the movie takes place in Naples, which is why Naples. But it is a continuation of John McCall being the most you don't mess with kind of guy floating around out there, and just kind of starts fighting the mafia, basically. And, he does his really, slick fights and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a big, dumb action movie, fun time, all that kind of stuff. So.
I think I reviewed this movie.
What, Equalizer?
Yeah, I gave it 2.5.
Oh, bro. Okay, so you really disliked it if you gave it 2.5. Even
Denzel
though
Washington is a man with a certain set of skills, and when you mess with the friends' neighborhood, when you mess with his neighborhood friends in Boston, you're in trouble. But does the Russian mob have a chance? Of course. Okay.
Oh yeah, because that's the end of the first one is like he's in a Home Depot and like traps him in there. Oh yeah.
That's like Home Alone with Denzel Washington and Power Tools.
Well, I mean, first of all, if you're gonna rip something off, Home Alone is a good place to start. But no, you must have really hated it to give it 2.5. Where most people 2.5 is an average movie. I could only imagine what your review was like. It had to actually scathe it and then give it 2.5. Because as we've discussed ad nauseum, there's so many times where you're like, this movie fucking sucks. I hate it. I couldn't stand it. But based off of this one redeeming quality, 3.5 stars. It's like, what the fuck, Justin? So, but anywho, we'll save the good for last. So let's start with. We'll just go backwards. We'll go with the ugly.
All right. So this might be some pretty faux pas, but I'm going to have to go with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which is a very overrated Western, in my humble opinion. This movie is too long. This movie's main character is not Clint Eastwood. It is Tuco. There is digressions out the wazoo in this movie, which makes me always fall asleep. It is epic in scale, but it does get into the Civil War way too much for what should be a fun treasure hunting Western with 3 badass characters that we don't spend nearly enough time with. Mostly the bad. Lee Van Cleef. Not in this movie as much as I'd like. Freaking amazing climax. I mean, that freaking cemetery and the badass trumpet wailing whenever they're whenever they got the rig gunfight about to go down. But yeah, it's a good Western, but definitely not the best of that trilogy. Which it's not really a trilogy; it's a couple movies strung together. But like I say, I digress.
Yeah, that is a fucking hot take, my guy. But okay, you're entitled to that opinion. I mean, it is 2 hours and 41 minutes, so it is a longer movie. But I mean, it is set during the Civil War, so obviously, it's kind of going to be involved in the movie. It's been a minute since I've seen this, but definitely enjoyed it. I do like Westerns, kind of want to watch some more. But yeah, okay. The fact that it's the ugly even, but boy, okay.
Well, it's just the worst of the 3 that I'm going to mention.
That's fair.
Not a terrible movie. I think I gave it 4 stars, but yeah, it was just, it's long. It's very, very long.
So
all right,
I would like to point out real quick, you literally just did what I was talking about. Where you're like, this movie freaking sucks. It's too long. It has this issue, this issue, this issue. 4 stars, which is 8 out of 10.
I said some good stuff about it.
You even said
It's
it does this thing.
It's
which
a
makes me
very
fall
well-made
asleep.
movie.
Oh my god. Anyway, continue.
No, I'm tapped out there.
You're tapped out. What movie of mine would you like me to tell everybody about?
India.
Oh, India. Yes.
I can't believe you watched this before me.
It's a big dumb action movie. Of course I watched it. I'm surprised it took me as long as it did, to be fair. I guess big dumb action movie is not accurate. Big and action movie are accurate. And that is Triple R or RRR or whatever the hell you want to call it on
How long is this movie? It's like 3 hours, right?
It is 3 hours and 5 minutes, I think,
Okay.
is what it is. Let's anyway, this movie is fantastic. It has everything. Ridiculous bromance, check. Ridiculous ass over the top action scenes, yes. Crazy ass dance numbers, freaking check. Got everything. Dude. There's one point where this dude picks up like a pillar. It's not a pillar, but it's like a outside lamp but it's on fire, so like a torch holder, I guess would be a better description. And holds it like almost like a metal fist and punches a tiger out of the sky that's running at him. And that may not even be the most ridiculous thing about this movie. This movie is long, like Justin said.
Is this dubbed, or can you watch it either way?
Yes, so it is 3 hours and 5 minutes. So you can, when you cut it on Netflix, it will start in English with English subs, because there is some English spoken, because it is taking place during the Indian Revolution from England. So there are British people there, so they speak English, but and some of the Indians are able to speak English as well. But from what Carl told me from when he watched it the first time before he caught on and flipped it to Hindi, was that like the other actors, it was very broken and very hard to understand. So yeah, I just watched it in straight Hindi because of course. Apparently the two main actors in this, which is N.T. Rama Rao Jr. and Ram Charan, I'm probably butchering those because I do not speak Hindi, so I'm very sorry, are two of like the biggest stars in India apparently. And also it has Ray Stevenson, the fucking Punisher, as like the main bad guy. Yeah, no, this movie, if you want just a little something of everything, but it is absurdly over the top, and it knows that it's over the top, and it leans into it in all of the best ways. I absolutely freaking loved it. Had such a blast watching it. Alrighty. Give me the bad.
All right. Well, this isn't like bad as in quality. This is bad as in badass, because this is the best chapter of the Dollars trilogy for a few dollars more.
Oh, well, I feel like that answers the question I was about to ask, but never mind.
So this movie ups the stakes from the original by pairing old Clint Eastwood up with Lee Van Cleef as they both go after this basically a bad gang or whatever, and they get involved with a bank robbery. And oh my gosh, there's this chime that gets used that the main bad guy uses as like his countdown to whenever they're going to draw. And this movie's incredible. The music, the action, the chemistry between Clint and Lee Van Cleef. This is the perfect spaghetti western, and that's all I really have to say about it.
Nice. So while you're talking about your love of Lee Van Cleef,
Okay.
have you watched any of his Sabata movies?
I don't even know what a Sabata is.
There's Sabata, Adios Sabata, and Return of Sabata, starring.
Oh, that's a character. Okay.
Yes, starring Lee Van Cleef. I picked up the box set at a secondhand, I think at the pawn shop, I can't remember, but at like a secondhand shop for basically nothing, because it was 3 westerns with Lee Van Cleef for $1. So I just didn't know if you had seen them yet. I have not watched them, but I'm looking forward to it because, like I said, I do like westerns. I just don't watch enough of them. I should definitely do that more.
Yeah, I think I've only seen him in those two movies. So yeah, I've heard he's in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, which is I'm on my western list. So yep, more movies. Not enough
Have you
time.
seen Bone Tomahawk?
I have.
Okay. That's a kind of out there western. But
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say it might be worth at least checking out.
Kurt
It's
Russell.
definitely yeah. Kurt Russell is definitely violent.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, I only have one left, and you were talking about you watching all these guy movies, and I have The Equalizer and RRR, but I think this might be the most guy movie of the ones I have here, and that
Raw
is
and Cell Block. No, I was kidding.
no, we are not talking Cell Block 99. Boo, hiss, boo, hiss. No,
Same
we are
director as Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, that might explain some things. No, we are talking about 1990 era, and by 1990 era, I mean specifically the year 1990 era. Jean-Claude Van Damme as a French Canadian policeman going undercover in a jail in L.A. Hell yes, where he gets helped by motherfucking Rafiki. The dude who voiced Rafiki, yeah,
Oh, yeah?
is the guy who helped him in this movie. Yeah, dude, this movie. Oh, and the bad guy's real name is his character name is the Sandman, which is pretty good. His real name is Patrick Kilpatrick, which is fantastic. But this is everything you expect from a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie in the year 1990. He spends most of it either in a very tight t-shirt or tank top or shirtless. He does the big spin kicks, does the splits. There's one part where he's like, it starts the scene and he's mopping it. I'm like, oh, he's about to be in a fight and he's gonna step on the broom and break it and use it as a weapon. 100% happened. So yeah, no, this was just turn your brain off, watch him fight corrupt prison guards and politicians and shit. He had a liaison from the USDA or something helping him, and it was a girl, and so she was posing as his wife to be able to bring him information and him give her information and get him money and that kind of stuff. And she comes in to visit him, and they're like, oh, well, we have to give you a conjugal, for no reason, just here's a conjugal. And they have not been romantic at all. And then they end up just boning in the conjugal, which is kind of weird. But then at the end of the movie, there's this huge fight and the prison's rioting and the National Guard's in there, the fire department's there, and he just walks out of the prison, walks out to her, and they just literally just start making out in the middle of all this chaos as the movie ends. So there's some kind of weird things there with that, but just. You want to watch Jean-Claude Van Damme fight random people? This is a good one, or a decent one anyway.
Need to see way more of his more eclectic stuff. I've almost seen the most mainstream of Jean-Claude, so should probably watch more.
Yeah, I mean, I'm up to 11 of his, and I have not seen any of his top 4 movies because 3 of them are animated movies. The new Minions, Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 3, and Last Action Hero. But I've seen Expendables 2, Bloodsport, Hard Target, Street Fighter, Double Team, Kickboxer, Lionheart, all that stuff.
What's he doing Last Action Hero?
That's a good question. Hold on, let's see. He is. It says he is in the movie as himself, uncredited.
Oh, okay.
So...
Maybe they walk by him or something. Weird.
Yeah, it's crazy that movie is ahead of Expendables 2 or something. But yeah,
It's got a soft spot for a lot of people.
I've never seen it actually.
Oh, wow.
I guess when it came out, I just couldn't watch it, and it was one of those things I've never went back and watched. So
It's a good one. It's fun. R&E meta action for sure.
yeah, I definitely have I won't say like I looked into it extensively, but like I've looked at it on like Letterboxd and stuff, and it's like it has potential. But I've seen like the reviews are like all over the place, where it's either they loved it and it's nostalgic, or people are like, this movie is fucking garbage. So um I wasn't really sure about it, but might get around to it one day.
Okay. Well, my dad said he was in the mood for a war movie the other night, so we went with Black Hawk Down, which is probably in my top 5 war movies. This movie is excellent in terms of being like this visceral war experience. You kind of shake your head whenever you're watching it because these like Black Hawks are hanging like right, they're hovering real low, like above the city streets or whatever, and it's very hostile territory. So not surprising that they busted out the RPGs and shot these guys down. But this is a movie that's just like, oh, is this movie ever going to slow down? And it just keeps trucking along. There's a few like down moments, like whenever they go back to base and try to regroup a little bit. And then like the nighttime scene, there's a little bit of character building. But otherwise, this movie's like balls to wall action, like throughout. Love seeing the Black Hawk helicopters in formation and lots of good character stuff between all these actors that, are in this war movie together for Ridley Scott. Great aesthetic. It's definitely shows off the greediness of what the Somalian conflict was all about. And Black Hawk Down does not disappoint.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen that, but I remember enjoying it a lot. Like, a lot.
Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen it more. Like, I've been meaning to watch it for a couple years now on Letterboxd, and I just keep putting it off. But man, it's one of the better war movies, and I should probably watch it more often.
I have just hit a point where I haven't watched a ton of war movies, or at least it doesn't feel like it. I know we did like 13 Hours, which I guess isn't a war movie, but I mean it is a war movie.
Yeah,
and
it's a war movie.
I've seen Come and See, right? That's right. Yeah.
The Russian one. Yep.
Yeah. But I feel like I've had like Fury Road on my watch list, and what's the one where Spider-Man doesn't want to like do battle? He wants to be a medic. Is that
Yeah, it's Hacksaw Ridge.
Mm-hmm. And then like another one like 1917 or whatever. I think that's right, because it's all Dunkirk, but I haven't seen 1917. So there's some of these like newer ones I just haven't really seen recently. I guess Lord of the Rings are war movies, just a different kind of war.
Fantasy war, yeah. Close
Fantasy
enough.
War, yeah. So,
all right, let's change gears a little bit, and let's tee up our feature movie, La La Land. So let's get into it. Joey, your line.
I should probably tell you something now, just to get it out of the way.
Huh?
I hate jazz. Are you okay?
What do you mean you hate jazz?
It just means that when I listen to it, I don't like it.
Yeah, but it's such a blanket statement. You don't like jazz? What are you doing right now?
Nothing.
Well, we are talking about La La Land, and we'll get into Joey's probable misunderstanding of the art of improv, which I'm kind of probably overselling because I'm not that big of a fan of improv jazz either. But all right, La La Land is from 2016. It's an American musical romance written and directed by Damien Chazelle. It stars Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone as a struggling jazz pianist and an aspiring actress, respectively, who meet and fall in love while pursuing their dreams in Tinseltown, Los Angeles. All right, let's get into some fun facts about Joey's beloved La La Land. So, apparently Ryan Gosling practiced his ass off so he could play piano convincingly throughout this movie, and I guess he pulled it off, and John Lennon was quite impressed.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I definitely, when watching this time, there was a scene where it was like on his hands and then just rolled back up to him, and I was like, that's either the best editing or he's playing the piano, and that's pretty dope. So
there's this big thing about how they had a 30-minute window for a couple nights between 7:20 and 7:50 p.m. in order to do the magic hour scene with the Hollywood Hills behind them, which looks phenomenal. It almost doesn't look real. It's a shame that they put that much effort into capturing it.
or is it perfect? Only
Yeah.
30 dancers were used for the Another Day of Sun sequence. Most of the people in cars seen in the far background are CGI, which makes sense because
Yeah,
that's
that had to been a set or something.
yeah.
See, Emma Watson turned down the role of Mia due to scheduling conflicts with Beauty and the Beast. Poor girl. While Ryan Gosling turned down the role of Beast in order to appear in this one. Coincidentally, both were musicals.
Also, I mean that Beauty and the Beast remake is pretty solid.
It's okay.
Um, like I would have rather have seen this in theater. Night at opening instead of Beauty and the Beast, but like this wasn't even a movie on my radar when this came out. So, but Beauty and the Beast, the girl I was dating at the time is a huge Disney fan, and Beauty and the Beast is her favorite. So we definitely like. I remember we it was a big date night. Like we went and had dinner at this like local place down where we lived at the time in Beaufort, and then went to we spent most of our movie theater, we went to the drive-in, but for this to see, on premiere, we went to the actual theater, and had a good time or whatever. So that was cool. But like, I really wish I would have seen, La La Land in theater.
Makes sense.
But I guess on the other hand, like at that point in time, like my movie watching, like the library of movies that I had seen was a lot more narrow than it is now. Like I had not seen a lot of like old Hollywood movies. So like all of the nods to things, the posters and different things like that, I definitely would have missed. I probably wouldn't have picked up, like I mentioned in my review, like that scene transition and like how the movies were saturated in their color and like that kind of stuff. I probably would have missed all of that and wouldn't have appreciated it as much. Like I would have loved Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling, and I would have loved that it's a musical and it's like a romance movie. But I just think all that other stuff that just makes it that much better, in my opinion, I would have missed and not gotten, if I hadn't waited till after Letterboxd and watching some movies, because of Carl and some of you, even though I watched this the first time, before we started the podcast. Like I didn't even have a review for it for the first time. I just had it rated. So
cool story. Next one, John Lennon John Legend had to learn how to play guitar for this role. So it's kind of surprising that such a popular musician, and he had to learn something new for this. Pretty cool. And then,
I was going to say probably. Usually once you can play one instrument, my understanding is pretty easy to play another instrument, so it probably wasn't super hard for him. Also, since you misspoke and called him John Lennon there, when you were talking a minute ago about Gosling playing the piano, you said John Lennon was impressed. Did you mean actual John Lennon, or did you mean John?
No. I thought I said John Legend there too, but
no, you said John.
Two flubs. Oh, well. He's not alive anymore, so I guess he was impressed.
Oh, I mean, I guess I didn't even think about that, but yeah, like he wouldn't have been alive. I was thinking
he died a long time ago.
It was in thinking McCartney, so. But yeah, so.
Oh, I missaid a name. Typical.
Hold on. Yeah, that is typical you. I may be a bad actor, but I can enunciate words.
Prior to filming, Damien Chazelle, Ryan Gosling, and Emma Stone visited Gene Kelly's widow, where they were able to look through Kelly's memorabilia, including his leather-bound copy of the script "Singing in the Rain."
That is pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our notes. So yeah, definitely refreshing to watch a modern musical of La La Land's caliber, where it's just kind of doing its own thing, telling its story, and then they break into these really fantastical music sequences, and like you said in your review, it just puts a smile on your face. So it can definitely open with that.
It really does. And I think my first review, so not my first time watching it, because like I just said, I didn't review it, but my first review of this movie, I said that I found myself asking what years this movie set in, because it doesn't tell you. And they're in cars and talking on cell phones at literally that opening scene, but then they kind of, you get into how the movie looks and how they speak and these things, and it's like, man, is this is this set in modern times? And like I had to remind myself that it was. So yes. And yeah, you're talking about where I said it makes me smile. It was that scene in the Hollywood Hills, like when they go to start doing that musical and they walked up the hill and everything. Like, and I was just like, man, it was like I'm smiling so big right now. This movie I just love this movie. So.
Gotta love all the colors from the different wardrobe choices. Such bright primary colors, and definitely feels like Umbrella's Overshortborg. Is that the name of the movie? Which I have no idea. What's that?
It's Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
Okay. Sherbert, yeah. No, I wouldn't have known the connection about these two movies if it wasn't for you. So kudos to you for helping round out my knowledge of this one with that criterion.
I do what I can. Also, just to like plug ourselves,
Okay.
The season 2 premiere of this show was my pick for that movie was The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and Justin picked the like most counteractive or like juxtaposed movie to it with Dancer in the Dark, which was not my favorite movie, but I do think that it made for a very interesting episode where you had this very bright and vibrant love story in Umbrellas of Cherbourg, and then you had this just dark and depressing Dancer in the Dark. Was not my favorite, but I could see why people liked it. Definitely think that's a cool episode. If you want to go back and check it out, I think that was a pretty good one.
Cool. So yeah, after that opening sequence, we so Emma and Ryan kind of see each other. He's mad that she's looking over the line. But then we like split off with Emma. Find out how she's a struggling actress and barista. Really enjoyed the audition process. It reminded me a lot of like Mulholland Drive, where that movie doesn't really go into like what it's like to be a struggling actor, where you show up to all these auditions with a bunch of people next to you, and then the people like watching you aren't even like giving you the time of day. Lynch was kind of going for that feel of being a struggling actress, but this movie actually captures it and makes it part of its drama.
I 100% knew you were gonna make some comparison in this movie somewhere to Mulholland Drive. I fucking knew it with every inch of my fucking being, Justin. Every inch of
Failed Dreams in Tinseltown. I mean, the same thematics.
Also, that's another movie that we did for this podcast, but I picked this movie not knowing what the fuck it was. That is season 1, I'm pretty sure. You can go back and check that out. That's a weird one. I don't even remember what that one was paired with, but go check that one out too while you're here. But boy.
I think we might have done it with Sweeney Todd, maybe.
I don't think so. That was season 1. I thought Sweeney Todd was in season 2. I don't know. I don't remember. While you're looking that up,
Okay.
so we were to talk about how you thought it was weird that Emma, so Mia, but Emma Stone, rooms with all these girls like a sorority house that has all these classic movie posters. You got to remember, they're 4 struggling actresses in L.A. They kind of have to live together to be able to like live.
Okay.
But like you said, it does make for that one fun musical sequence with the fun dress.
Yep, and whipping their dresses around and walking down the street. Yeah, that was pretty badass.
But some notable posters. There's the Killers, which is a Criterion movie that's got which I have that movie, and there's 2 movies on the disc, but it had the poster for the original, and then it had Ingrid Bergman, like a huge picture of Ingrid Bergman, and there's some other ones that I meant to like take note of and didn't, but it adds to all those vibrant colors. They're all over the place. They're in that sequence. They're switching rooms, and the rooms are kind of like color coordinated as well. I think they match all the color dresses they're wearing, if my memory serves me. So like it's just this really, really vibrant scene, and just done very well. Like everything in this movie. And did you find what episode?
I'm getting close. Keep talking.
So, and then they go to this party, and you can tell that Mia's not really feeling it. She's just kind of moving around through the party. And she goes to leave, and her car gets towed, and so she's walking up the street, and she hears this music, this jazz music coming from like inside of a restaurant, and she walks in, and that's where you see Sebastian, which is Ryan Gosling's character, playing
his own
City
tune.
of is it City of Lights? Is that what
I
song
think
he's
so.
playing? Yeah, he's playing City of Lights, and then you see it kind of flashes back to the point where they first met on the bridge or the freeway, and goes kind of follows him up to that point where he's sitting. He's having coffee outside of this tapas and samba and tapas place that used to be this like really old, well-known jazz bar. And then he goes home, and his sister's there, and she's trying to hook him up with a girl and trying to get him to like figure out what he's going to do with his life, and makes fun of him loving jazz so much. It was like, what if I told you that so and so pissed on this rug? And he's like, oh, did he? And then, it shows him going to that restaurant, and J.K. Simmons, who in Damien Chazelle movies is the perfect asshole, which I guess he's also J. Jonah Jameson, who's also kind of a perfect asshole. But J.K. Simmons is great. He was like, play the fucking set list, just play what I tell you, freeform jazz. And you see him, and he's sitting there, and he's just playing these Christmas tunes, because it's Christmas
Very
time.
staccato.
Yeah, and you can
just
tell
the cheesiest way possible.
Yeah, you could tell Ryan Gosling Sebastian is not happy to be there, and be playing this. And he tried to talk him into like, hey, I'll play 2 of your songs and one of my song, and then J.K. Simmons wasn't having any of it, and he starts playing. Pretty sure it's City of Lights, like we said, and then we come back in where Mia walks in, and she sees him getting fired. Mia tries to like walk up to him and like tell him that she liked his music. And he just kind of blows past her. As he said later on, he was an asshole. So, yeah. But you said you found the episode with Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, it was Sweeney Todd.
Oh, it was
season
Sweeney.
1.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
Episode 17.
Okay. I mean, I guess that was a challenge movie. You would have picked Mulholland Drive off of my list, and I would. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that seems like 100 years ago when we had that set up for how we picked movies.
Oh goodness, yeah, I'm not even seeing when it came out 3 years ago. Wow, time flies. Few points to mention: the pool set piece, that's pretty amazing, especially when we get the underwater camera with all these people dancing around, and we get the pool, like the water or whatever, in the camera. So pool set piece.
That's really good.
In terms of like the writing in this movie, like this is all like stuff. It's like the Emma and Ryan are like Damien's mouthpiece. Like everything he thinks about jazz and classic movies are definitely coming out of these actors. So definitely see his opinion being well represented, which I don't really have a problem with, whenever directors do that. I mean, they're telling the story. Why not throw a little bit of their own flavor in? So, okay. So Joey, what are your real thoughts on jazz? I know that I can't imagine they're too immaculate, since you used to make fun of me for my talk radio habits.
Did I used to make fun of you for listening to talk radio?
When we first met each other, hell yeah, you did.
When we were children? When I was 18, I made fun of you for listening to what, NPR?
No, I was listening to ESPN Radio and Colin Cowherd, not no fucking NPR, you nuts.
Oh, well, I mean, I apologize. I listened to Colin Cowherd for a while. He says some off-the-cuff shit sometimes. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's just out of pocket. Not quite Skip Bayless, but anyway.
Oh yeah, he's bad. Don't like Skip.
Oh yeah, Skip. Oh boy. When there was a point in time where Skip and Stephen A had a show together, and that was absurd.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Boy howdy.
Pardon the interruption, I think.
Yeah. No, what PTI?
No. That's another. Yeah, that's another show.
That's Kornheiser. And
right.
No, it was First Take. It was just like the early edition of First Take.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. It might have been started when it was Cold Pizza, but I think it was First Take by that point. So like
Yeah, jazz.
Jazz isn't something normally I'm gonna put on, but like movies that have jazz and shit in it, I am here for it. Like I loved Whiplash, which is another movie we've done on this podcast. Also at the end of season 1, if I'm not mistaken.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Paired with Tokyo Gore Police in the next to last episode. That's a really, really crazy episode where the movies they're so opposite from each other. But like on the way home, I was listening to the soundtrack to this movie, like because of course, I'd been listening to a podcast and I finally finished it because I don't have a long commute, like, so it took me like four sessions to finish like an hour and 15-minute podcast. But so I was listening to this soundtrack on the way home. But no, it's not something I put on all the time. But like when we get movies that deal with it and that kind of stuff, dude, it is fantastic. It's just not my go-to. But like if I was in New Orleans or somewhere out and about and like it was like, hey, let's go to this jazz club, like I would probably be down to check it out. Like I don't know if I would pick that to go to myself, but I definitely would be down to go into it. And I think like where one of the things about Sebastian that I liked was like how he wanted to save jazz and preserve the history of it, and like that historical side to it, I think was pretty cool.
So I was a jazz trumpet player for a long time. Just a trumpet player in general. Was in big band jazz in high school and college and jazz combo. So like I have appreciation for how it all comes together. I don't like go out and like listen to it. I mean, I've been to like maybe one jazz concert before. The whole improv aspect, a lot of times, I mean, it just depends on if it's done right. Like if it's mixed in well with like the actual track and it doesn't just sound like a bunch of scales or whatever, or somebody off in the corner. That's more preferable. I just like the big band power sound of like, you know, lots of trumpets, you know, some hip drums, you know, kind of like what we hear in Whiplash. Yeah, big, powerful, aggressive jazz music. That's the, you know, the easy like Kenny G nonsense. Yeah, I definitely agree with Stone on those comments.
Yeah, and like I think I saw you, maybe it was in your 2017 review, I think is what I read this morning, where it's like, you know, oh, it's at every Starbucks in the country, you know, like on the counter. So yeah, that like that smooth jazz, elevator music, whatever you want to call it, is definitely like that feels so much different than what they were playing in this movie and what they were talking about. It doesn't even really feel like it's the same thing.
Okay. So after a long night with a jazz man, so this is part wherever Ryan Gosling invites her to go see Rebel Without a Cause, but she has an actual boyfriend and she has to go on like a date with them, and she finds that conversation amazingly dull.
We skipped the part. We skipped the 80s party.
Okay.
Yeah, you just went right over.
'Cause I ran. Dun, 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 dun,
How could you ask a serious musician to play I Ran? Did you
George Michael
say serious musician? Oh no, that scene is so great. And then you got this other dude, like you can, like her friend introduces her to her boyfriend, and he's like an up and coming writer, and he's like, I got a whole bunch of buzz, and he starts talking about himself, and she's like, yeah, I'm getting a drink, like she was having so much fun with the 80s cover band, and
yep, and
but
Gosling
then she kind of forces him
extremely
to save him.
Annoyed by it.
Yeah, she kind of forces him to save her with the like by getting her keys, which I thought was funny. She's like, it's a Prius, and like every set of keys there just about was a Prius, except for, you know, hers at the
He's wearing like a Michael Jackson kind of jacket. It's like a red leather jacket.
Yeah, and then that's when they walk into the hills and they do that number, and I am blanking on the name of it right now. I literally just listened to it a couple hours ago, but it's so what a lovely night. What a waste of a lovely night, I think is what we're yeah.
I have no idea.
But yeah, no, they're definitely, you know, being very flirtatious, like, oh, I wouldn't want to be with you, oh, I wouldn't want to be with you, like back and forth, and they, they jump up on the bench, and like she's changed her shoes from heels to tap. And they kept doing this, and they did it in some other numbers where like they swept their feet, and I always thought that was really cool. And then they finally find her car. She gets a call from her boyfriend, or her Bogart, as he calls him later.
Which I can definitely see how this movie homages Casablanca, with the piano in the club being like the central like point of the romance.
I mean, and they even talk about it when we're about to get to, like, her job's like right across the window that they looked out at in Casablanca, and so yeah.
Have you seen any of the Gene Kelly musicals?
I don't believe so. I've not seen any really old musicals. I've seen.
Yeah, you got to see Singing in the Rain and An American Paris. Those are both great
I haven't seen Singing in the Rain. I haven't seen All That Jazz. I haven't seen West Side Story. Like, I've seen mostly newer stuff. Chicago. I've seen Umbrellas, which is old, and I've seen The Young Girls of Rochefort, which is another. Wow, I'm just blanking on his name. The same guy who did Umbrellas. I just can't think of his name right now. But I mean, I very obviously have seen Casablanca.
Is it Jacques Demy?
Yeah, Demy. Yeah, Jacques Demy. That's it.
Not John Lennon.
And you find, not John Lennon. You find, and not Jean-Luc Godard or anything like that. It's Jacques Demy. But then you find out, like, his car was like way back up at the front. And he just walked like to be with her. But then he shows up the next day at her job, like when she's about to get off, and they start walking around the set. And that's when he invites her to see
Rebel Without a Cause.
Rebel Without a Cause. Well, yeah,
which is hilarious because when I bashed that movie last episode, and I was like, "Hey, they go up to that observatory like in La La Land," and I was like, "Oh, stupid me! It's inspired off of Rebel Without a Cause." There you go.
Yeah, like I also thought Rebel Without a Cause was highly overrated, and when I watched that, I went, "Hey, that's the fucking place from La La Land." Like dead thing that I said. Like I recognized it from La La Land. But they, that was after our little skit, because we did at the beginning. They go to like a jazz club, and she gets a call back for Dangerous Minds meets the OC, so then it was
no Jamal, you be tripping.
Jamal, you be tripping. And it's to go see for research, which of course is what it has to be with her seeing somebody else. And then, so on the day that they're supposed to go see the movie, her boyfriend shows up, and his brother's coming into town, and they haven't like exchanged phone numbers or anything yet. So like she can't get in touch with him and tell him that she has to cancel. And yeah, like you said, after a day of speaking with the jazz man,
yuppie conversation wasn't doing it for her no more.
Yeah, the talk of Indonesia just wasn't compared to like Costa Rica, just wasn't doing it for her. So she tells him he's sorry, and she just starts running, and then she shows up. You see Ryan at the theater, and he's in like a suit, like he is dressed to the T's for her. And then he just goes into the movie, and then she runs past him, and she's up at the front, and then he stands up, and you get this really cute scene where like they're watching the movie, and then like they're playing the hand game, and you're on a first date or second date or whatever with somebody, and they're trying to hold each other's hand, and like he moves his hand, and she sees it, and he turns his hand over, and then they're about to lean and going for the kiss, and like the movie stops. Like the film just goes bad or whatever. Yeah. And then that's when they decide to go to the observatory. And I feel like maybe, I don't know, because I've never been to the observatory. I've never been to La La Land, so I don't know. But I feel like at that point in time at night, the observatory would have been closed. And I feel and there would have been some alarms and shit going off. But fuck that, it's a movie. We're just overlooking that.
Yeah. I think that's the epitome of like how this movie like kind of breaks from reality and goes into these fantastical moments of music, from an on ramp, completely like everyone jumps out and starts dancing, to a whole party going on with people jumping in a pool dancing. And yeah, so this movie definitely takes a break from reality during its musical sequences, which is good to keep in mind because it's going to come in handy at the end when we take our final digression from reality and see what could have been.
Boy. But then they finish this like cutesy date, and at one point, like in one of the musical numbers, he like throws her, and they're in the planetarium part, and she's floating, and then they finally have that big kiss, and it transitions where like it closes into a circle. Like I don't know what that's called, but it was just freaking amazing.
Yep, and they're seriously dating at this point.
Yeah, they jump forward. They're seriously dating. They're and it kind of shows them going through and like going on a bunch of dates and just having a lot of fun time being a young new couple and all of that jazz.
Yeah, she's dancing to his music in the club and having a good time.
Yeah, and then they start getting a little bit more serious. Like the I love you start coming, and she starts trying. She wants to do her one woman show, and she's he's talking about this club that he wants to own, which has to be at the Samba Tapas place. It has to be chicken on a stick for XY reasons, and she draws up what she thinks it should be, which is Seb's, and the apostrophe is a music note, and he's like, oh, this is really cool, but it has to be chicken on a stick. But then
this is around the time when John Legend shows up and is just like, I need a keyboard player. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do your conformist music. And he's like, well, I'll pay $1,000 a week and plus all the benefits from the tour and the record and stuff. So he's like, oh, whatever. And so, yeah, she kind of pushes him. She kind of pushes him to want to be a successful musician.
Well, she's pushing him to follow his dreams, and like she's talking to her mom, and he's like, oh, he doesn't have a steady job right now, but he's saving up and blah 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 blah, and then. But yes, like she had pushed him not necessarily to do that, but to follow his dream, just like he was pushing her to follow her dream. It's just that that's how he took it, was like this was his way to make that happen. It just might mean putting his dream on hold to do a record and a tour and a record and a tour and a record and a tour. Because I mean...
And she had a misconception. I think she had a misconception. I mean, she wanted him to be a successful musician, but at the same time, she didn't realize that he'd be touring all the time and they wouldn't be together, and it's for this whole like long haul. So
that, and I think also because they had he comes home and he's like made her dinner and they're having this nice night and they're talking, and she then they kind of get into a fight, and she asked him if he even likes the music he's playing, and he's like, well, do you? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, but I didn't think you did, and I don't want you to give up your dream for something you don't even like. So, like, I think her heart was in the right place, but yeah, there was just some miscommunication and like misunderstanding of where like the other person, like both of them, I think had the right intent there. It just some shit just got mixed up, kind of thing.
So she pursues having her own show, and unfortunately doesn't turn out real well at first. Only a few people show up, and then she overhears people like saying, "Oh well, maybe she shouldn't stop her day job." So pretty discouraging for that. And Ryan doesn't even show up because he's stuck at this photo shoot that he's not into at all.
Yeah, and so that kind of mirrors. We go back to where she stood him up at first and then was late to the date. She thought that the thing where her then boyfriend's brother was coming in was at a different time. He thought that this photo shoot was a week later. And yeah, like he just did not want to be there. He didn't want to do the cool poses and shit. Like he wasn't about
biting
that.
His lip.
Yeah, but
move your sunglasses down.
He didn't leave on time to get there, so he made it at the end. Afterwards, there's a huge fight. She's going home back to Boulder City. And next thing you know, you see her driving away, and then he's in bed and he gets this phone call, and it's someone looking for Mia for casting, and he's like, well, she's not here anymore, blah blah blah, and she starts talking, and so he drives to Boulder City, and does real quick before I keep going, if I'm not mistaken, the theater is also that she did her play is the theater they went to the movie theater to see the movie on their first date, but it had been closed because she drives by at a different point and you see it closed. So I think that's the same thing as another kind of callback to itself.
I think it's a different place, but
I think it is, but it also it looked very similar from the outside, but I'd have to go back and like look for sure. If it isn't, that's fine. If it is, that's like just like another cool thing. But he drives all the way from LA to Boulder City, Nevada. And does what he always did when he picked her up, which is lay into the horn. But now we're in a small suburban town. You know, she walks out there and he starts telling her, you know, hey, this person's looking for you, saw you at your play. And she's like, I can't do that again. What if I get hurt? And they kind of go back and forth. And he's like, I'm going to be here at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then she asks how he even found it. And he's like, oh, well, you know, it's the house across from the library, which is a story she mentioned when they were walking around on the movie set that day. So it's just a small thing. Like, he clearly was into her and like paying attention to her from the get. So he shows up the next day. They haul ass back.
Well, didn't he pick her? Didn't he pick her up from his her place back in L.A.? Like, she drove back overnight because he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be waiting for you at your place back home."
He said,
I thought that's what they said.
No, he picked her up from her parents' house. Because yeah, he's like, "I'm gonna be here at 8 in the morning," because it was at 5 in the afternoon was the. So it's probably, I don't know the distance, but I'm imagining it's a 5 or 6 hour drive. So,
Okay.
Yeah, it was outside of her parents' house. Because I think they were living in his place by that point. She wasn't living with the girls anymore.
Sure.
And so
let me just say, like, the range of emotions like Emma has in this compared to Ryan is like she's definitely outacting him in terms of like her ability to be vulnerable, which definitely goes with these like audition scenes, because you know that's kind of what you're looking for whenever you're, you know, judging somebody's range. But you know, he's always kind of like quiet, confident, stubborn, but like she's all over the place, which I think definitely feeds into her getting Best Actress for this.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, he is the cool and collected guy. He, you know, and there's some things where he's angry and upset, but like in this specific scene, like he's determined. He is determined. He's going to get her back, and not get her back, but get her back to LA for this audition for her dream.
And then she kind of lies to him about it, right? Because, like, she goes in and they're like, okay, we specifically want to, like, build this around you. And we want you to go to Paris, right?
Well, they say, we want you to tell us a story, but it's going to be built around the actress. And they had someone else already come in. That person was leaving when she was coming in. So I don't think she lied to him about, like, hey, it's going to be a few days before I find out. But this is the part in the movie where, like, okay,
the split is kind of abrupt, isn't it?
Well, they have this big fight. They've been, you know, and then he comes and does this. So I think I saw in one of your reviews where you asked like why they couldn't be together while she was gone, why she went to France or whatever. But he specifically tells her, you have to give this everything you have. There can't be distractions. And I guess worrying about him and how he's doing in America, and then them trying to see each other from LA to Paris and all of that, he did not want to be a distraction to her. And I think that I feel like most people and most normal people, there would have been like a fight, a continent, maybe not like a fight, but there would have been some back and forth, like, no, we'll figure it out, yada, yada. And she does ask, what will he do? And that's when, you know, she says, I'll always love you. And he says the same thing. And honestly, the movie could have ended right there, I think. Like, it would have ended right there. It would have been a fine ending. I don't think it would have been as good an ending as it turned out to be. And I know me and you are probably going to differ on that. But I think it could have ended right there. It would have been a kind of an ambiguous. He didn't get his dream, but he's going to go do it. She's getting her dream, or maybe she fails. You never know. But that it could end. But instead, it does the same thing. It transitions to the next season, but then hits us with the 5 years
4
later.
years later, right?
Yeah,
no, 5 years later.
5 years later, and now she's
ironically they've both been very successful in that time.
She walks back into the coffee shop that she used to work in and mimics the exact scene from the beginning where there was a scene where she was the barista and the really big actress came in and they were like, it's on the house, and the actress was like, no, I'm gonna pay, I insist, and she does the same thing, jumps in the golf cart, and then this the scene that hits you. If you have not seen the movie and you don't want the end of this movie spoiled, this is the time to stop listening, for the record. Okay, so she walks into the house and kisses her husband, who is not Ryan Gosling, and then you see that they have a child together. And then you see he's like practicing at his bar, getting his bar ready to open up. And then you see him pull in for opening night or whatever at his bar, and he walks behind like a bus stop or something that has Mia's face on it for her movie or whatever. And then you see Mia and her husband leaving. They leave the kid with the babysitter. They're going out. They get stuck in traffic, decide to pull out, which, again, stuck in traffic, which is how the two first met, Mia and Sebastian. They pull off to go to get dinner, and as they go to get in their car, they hear music coming, and they walk down the steps, and then the look on her face when she sees that sign, it is also, you're talking about her range of emotion. When she sees that sign that says Sebs with a musical note as the apostrophe, it's just fantastic. And then they go and sit down, and other people are playing, and that song finishes, and Sebastian comes out and he introduces all the musicians, and then he turns and he sees her, and they make eye contact, and he sits down and he starts playing City of Lights. And then this is where we get the scene of what their life would have been, and it goes all the way.
Well, first of all, like, he takes her, and then they kind of like walk through this like old school like big set piece of a big musical Hollywood number. We see like there's this kid with a red balloon, which goes back to this old French movie. But yeah, it definitely just feels like this big finale kind of thing in this ultimate musical romance get back together. And then from there it's this digression into like it's showing like home video footage of them actually having like a family together and stuff. And then, you know, it sadly goes back, and yeah, this was just all this big fantasy, but a very satisfying one to see kind of play out in this imaginary scenario.
Yeah, and then, you know, her husband asks if she wants, you know, if they should leave or whatever, and they go to leave, and then she turns and they look back at each other, and they kind of give each other this look, and then it fades out as he's playing. So like, I know in your older review, because for some reason I read it this morning thinking it was your review from this watch, and then I realized that it was from like 7 years ago, 6 years ago, or whatever. And you claimed and lamented how it should have the perfect fairy tale ending. And while this ending is bittersweet, and it maybe isn't the ending that you want, like, I still think that it's a good ending, because they are both happy, they're both successful. Their relationship didn't fail because somebody cheated or someone was beating the other one or not listening. It was, they were the right people for each other at the right time, and they both pushed the other person, and they both ended up happy. Like, we don't know about like Ryan's relationship status or whatever, but that wasn't really the point for his story. It was to open his bar, which he did, and she's now this, you know, famous actress, and she does have her family and that, but, you know, in this also, you know, we talked about the colors and stuff, where the big ode to umbrellas. This ending is the ode to, right on par with the end to umbrellas. So I think it's not the perfect Hollywood ending, like, oh, they're together and everyone's happy. Like, it is sad because it's heartbreaking, because no one necessarily did anything wrong. They didn't end up together, but they still ended up where they wanted to be. So I think it's a fantastic ending. I definitely
remember hating it the first time, but, you know, with more life experience and like seeing the bittersweetness and umbrellas definitely rounded out my understanding, having more appreciation for sad love story endings. I mean, La La Land is an excellent modern musical. that really digs into this whole idea of the dream of Tinseltown and how it can be a process that takes time. And unfortunately for these two people that loved each other, it just did not line up. But was fun to see it while it lasted, and fantastic chemistry, awesome musical numbers. And that's Hollywood for you. A lot of things don't work out, but I'm definitely tracking more on your in your groove now with this one.
Excellent. Well, if anybody couldn't guess, I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. If I could give it higher, if I could be like Dave Meltzer and give something 8 out of 5 stars, I would. This movie is fantastic. It is, when I just do my straight up favorite movies on Letterboxd and I don't have a theme to them or whatever, this is in my top movies. I absolutely love it, and I think that if you like musicals, if you like romantic movies, if you like old Hollywood, like any of them, but if you like more than one of these things, if you haven't seen this movie, you should definitely go and see it. And I definitely think, like, now, especially, several years later, like, Emma Stone is well known for being this, like, great actress as far as accolades and critical acclaim. But, like, coming into this, she'd been in Birdman, but most everybody was, she was Gwen Stacy, or she was in Superbad, or she was in Easy A, and she wasn't in these, like, acclaimed movies. And now she's just knocking them out, like, front and center back. And, she was in Birdman, she was in La La Land, she was in The Favorite, she was in, what's the new one? Poor Things. Is that it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so she's in that, and so she's just got this wide range of acting and stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, great
resume.
Movie. Yeah.
I would probably go, I'm strong 4.5, maybe 5, but definitely would stick at 4.5 and see what strikes me whenever I write it on up. But let's get to feature movie number 2. Goodfellas is from 1990, an American biographical crime drama film directed by Martin Scorsese. It's a film adaptation of a 1985 nonfiction book called Wise Guys, starring Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Joe Pesci, Lorraine Brasco, and Paul Sorvino. The film narrates the rise and fall of mob associate Henry Hill and his friends and family from 1955 to 1980. A few fun facts. According to Henry Hill, whose life was the basis of the book and film, Joe Pesci's portrayal of Tommy was about 90 to 99% accurate, except Tommy was apparently a massively built guy and not
he was
the shorty.
Swole.
Although Scorsese had sworn off making any other gangster movies as soon as he looked at this book, he said, "This is something I've been waiting for all my life," and so was the author. So basically a match made in gangster movie heaven.
The How I'm Funny scene is based on something that actually happened to Joe Pesci, which is pretty fucking absurd. While working in a restaurant, a young Pesci apparently told a mobster that he was funny. And while he meant it as a compliment, it was met with a less than enthusiastic response, which is great because it led to this just great scene in the movie. Like, and it's been, mimicked and referenced so much. It's like one of the whole movie's got iconic scenes. It's just one of the most iconic scenes, and I think it's funny that, like, my introduction to Joe Pesci was, of course, Home Alone.
Home Alone.
So he was a bad guy, but he wasn't Tommy in this movie, or what else? I don't remember the other. Was it Once Upon a Time in America he was in, maybe? But I've seen him in a couple of gangster movies since then, and it's just, but he's still usually always kind of funny, but also insanely violent. So it's just kind of an interesting juxtaposition.
My Cousin Vinny is a good one with him too.
I haven't seen that one. That's one I need to see, actually. That's, like, on my list. My insanely
Apparently the studio
ridiculous
was initially very nervous about the film due to extreme violence and language. The film reportedly received the worst preview response in the studio's history. Scorsese said the numbers were so low it was funny. Nevertheless, the film was released without alteration to an overwhelming critical acclaim, cementing Scorsese's reputation as one of America's foremost filmmakers. But unfortunately, Dances with Wolves got the Best Picture Oscar.
Uh, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen Dances with Wolves since I was a kid, so I can't really say anything. But I mean, I was about to say something about the La La Land controversy at the Oscars too. So like,
Oh yeah.
where because
Go ahead.
it had already won Golden Globe. Emma had already won Best Actress at Golden Globe. I don't remember if Ryan won or not, and she'd already won Best Actress at the Oscars, and then they announced that they won the Oscar, and then it was it Moonlight or was that
Mm-hmm.
yeah Moonlight, which I haven't seen, so I guess I can't compare it.
Yeah, apparently the ballot for or like the announcement card was like a duplicate of Emma Stone winning. So like they just went with the movie, and yeah, that was wrong. It went to um Moonlight, and that's a great movie too. So, anyways, back to gangsters. As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a gangster. What a great opening line to take us back to see this mob life that where Henry basically had everything, at least in his opinion.
I mean, yeah, definitely, especially in the narration style, especially at the beginning. Like he hyped it up, and he's telling it at this point from his perspective as a child, and it's just romanticizing being a gangster. It's everything that you think that you want it to be, and it was really interesting. I didn't see this for the first time until like well after Sopranos had been out. That's
Okay.
I guess it's not true. I saw it in college, but Sopranos had already been out, and there's all these actors from The Sopranos in this movie.
Yep.
But The Sopranos kind of does the same thing. Like you see the downfall and everything just like you do in this movie, but it spends a lot of time just glorifying being a gangster. It's you have all of this money, you have all of this power, so. But
I love how it starts on like this dead guy that they're having to take care of, but this is like the key component in like the three of these guys is like main downfall from what they were kind of building up to as kind of dangerous partners and side partners in the mob under Polly. Have you seen Mean Streets yet?
I have not. It is another one I've added to the list. It wasn't even one I had even really heard of until a little while ago, I guess, because it just got a Criterion release in the last
Okay.
year, maybe.
Yeah,
Or is a
yeah. It's one of
4K or something?
Scorsese. It's one of Scorsese's early gangster films, and it really like kind of gets into like low level mob guys and kind of really shows how not great that life is. But it's interesting how this movie disguises the life as being very glamorous, but by at the end of the day, it's it's all a ruse. So we'll get into that. Gets into all kinds of crime from him getting pinched after stealing cigarettes and selling them on the street to blowing up that whole like car lot. Pretty crazy scene there. His respect for Polly sure goes downhill later on when he thinks he knows everything, huh?
You're talking
Because he
about
like worship the boss of the group he was
You're
supporting.
talking about his respect for him. He goes down at the end of the movie, like.
Well, what I'm getting at, like, in the opening, he's like, "Oh man, Polly wouldn't move for nobody. He didn't have to speak, and he's just really praising Polly up." And then, at the end of the movie, Polly's like, "You need to stay away from these guys. You do not do the drugs." And Henry's gonna do what Henry's gonna do.
That's why I was kind of because you usually don't stick something like that where you're talking about the end of the movie like up in the beginning. So I was a little confused. That's what I thought you meant. But when he's narrating, especially as like a child, Polly is basically like a god. And then he definitely gets out of prison, doesn't listen to Polly, and then goes crawling to Polly at the end when everything has gone to shit before turning on them. So
big theme of not ratting out your friends, which we'll get there.
So
you meet all these people, but you don't really learn anything about them. Like they're like, "Hey, how's it going? How's it going?" Like as they're like scanning through these huge restaurants, which makes a lot of sense because like Henry doesn't know all these people. They just know that they're all part of the same like insider group. So it's neat how it's very brushed over the details, but it's because that's how they probably look at it, right?
yeah, I mean they have the people that they know like super close, but there's all these like people that I know. We both know this person, or this person, and I know this person, and there's all different crews and stuff as we find out later when we find out about the
Everybody
Gambino
was
crew.
named Peter or Paul, and
Holy
they were married to girls named Marie.
Yeah.
Or Maria.
Yeah, Marie. Yeah, Marie. So yeah, no, that's it's really interesting, yeah, because it's you always think it's Peter, Paul, Tony, which is Anthony, or Joey, or something like that, and it's like that's why you have Big Tony, like in Sopranos, there's Big Tony, and then there's Tony, yeah, and then there's I don't know, there's like 82 other Tonys maybe, I don't, but yeah, they're all named very similarly.
Yep, definitely. I already touched on Joe Pesci as this crazy scary he is when he becomes unhinged, but still kind of amusing at the same time. It's good to see Joe Pesci.
He's very charismatic. Like he's telling the stories in the restaurant and stuff, and like as it goes on, he just gets more. Because the story where we were talking about where what do you mean I'm funny? Am I funny like a clown? Like, yeah, he pulls the gun out and all of that, but it's made it like, oh, he's just fucking around with his friends or whatever. But then you go to like we're playing the poker games, and Michael Imperioli or Christopher from The Sopranos, shoots him in the foot and then ends up killing him.
The next time they see each other because he smarts off to him.
Yeah, well, because he's like, hey, go fuck yourself, and then of course, Mr. Conway, which is Bob De Niro, is like, oh man, the balls on this guy, and like throws him some money for having some balls, but he's like, yo, Tommy, you gonna let this little shit talk shit to you? And he's like, oh well, fuck that, and pulls out, like he had a revolver before this, and he pulls out this huge like a deagle or something and just blasts him, and Henry's like, bro, you killed him. It's like, well, no shit, he shot him like 7 times in the chest. Of course he's dead. Like,
the movie does a great job of like showing how like these kind of poor schmucks will like, oh, I need a favor from the mob or whatever, and man, they'll soak you up for all you're worth, and then they'll just burn it down because they could care less. They just want to kind of profit off of you. So definitely a bad idea to get friendly with the mob because they don't give a shit about you.
To be fair, like Paulie was like, I don't know anything about this. Why do you want me? And then they kind of talked him into it, kind of thing. But to go back to like how influential this movie is, and I keep mentioning The Sopranos because they weren't that far apart, like in terms of when The Sopranos came out and when this movie came out. But so they take the restaurant and they get everything they can on credit, this, that, and the other, and then they burn the restaurant down, collect the insurance money. But I don't remember a ton of stuff from The Sopranos as far as like off storylines. But if I'm not mistaken, Robert Patrick has a sporting goods store, and he gets Tony to come in with him on Sopranos, and it's the same thing. They use it and just get as much.
I think they do that to an Italian restaurant too at one point.
Maybe, yeah, they do, just to get as much as they can out of it before declaring bankruptcy and all of that kind of stuff. So, definitely a very influential film in the mob universe. All that movies and shows that came after it.
The romance is done really well in this, with like Karen showing up and Henry doesn't want to give her the time of day, and it's just nuts that she ends up being the shrink in Sopranos. But their dynamic's really interesting, with her at first like seeing how weird this is and then like being scared of it, but then also being like seduced by like his power and like the lifestyle they're able to have from it, and definitely gets drugged down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, the scene where she goes out looking for him after he stands her up on the second date, and she's like, no one does this to me, Henry Hill. And it's like, I guess she doesn't realize quite what he is yet. And then, she's just talking all this shit and just, loud, and he's definitely into it. And then, they've been going out for a little while, and, he's I'm a union rep. They go to the Copacabana, and he tells her, he's like, oh, I'm a union rep with construction union rep and all of this. And then the dude across the street, like, tries to assault her, and he goes and beats the shit out of him with a pistol. And she's like, well, most women, when their boyfriend would hand them a pistol to hide, would get out, but it turned me on. And even later, when she's talking about how she should probably get out and be divorced, she was still so immensely attracted to him, and the power and the wealth and the danger. I mean, it has to be the danger. Like,
Let's not underplay that the Copacabana, because man, what a sequence with the music and how the camera is swirling around them as he introduces her into the life. And Paul Thomas Anderson kind of pulled from that whenever he did a similar thing in Boogie Nights. So gotta shout that out.
Yeah, no, that
don't
was-
piss off Henry or he'll just leave. I wish I had the nerve to do that sometimes. Mom, leave him alone.
Oh yeah, when once they're married and his mother-in-law, so Karen's mom, is like, married men don't stay out all night. And he's like, fuck this, and just gets back in the car with Tommy. He's like, I'm the fuck out. So.
Well, as a hot-blooded red American, I quite find it charming, the scene where he's like, he's trying to get out of the house and gives her a little bit of money, but she'll do him a little favor to get a little more money, a little blowy scene. So gotta mention that.
Well, not even that. I mean, like, so later when he goes to see his second girlfriend, not Jan, was it Janice was the first one, maybe?
You're talking about the girl that was cutting his coke?
Yeah, the blonde-haired girl whose name I can't, or black-haired, dark-haired girl whose name I cannot remember, and she does the same. Like, he's trying to leave, and then she's like, "No, we're gonna fuck." And he's like, "I mean, I guess you're gonna pull my arm about it." Like, so.
Oh man, yeah. When it comes to teasing, these guys really don't know how to lay off until someone ends up dead, and that's the scene where the maid guy like gets out of prison and he's like making fun of Tommy and being like a former shoeshine boy, and so they go at it until Tommy finally has had enough and blasts him, which is a bad move.
Yeah, that, and like, you know, Tommy's like, keep him here, and he's finally there. Like, but yeah, this is a bad move. They all know that you can't fuck with a made guy. None of them are made. Only Tommy can be made, because Bob De Niro is Irish. Henry is half Italian or half Sicilian and half Irish, so they can't be made. Tommy's the only one that can be, and they just do this without pause. And Henry's kind of like, oh shit, and you know they have to do this whole elaborate lie. They go to like Tommy's mom's house to get a shovel. They end up getting this huge meal. You know, tell them they hit a deer. And they have to, you know, they go and bury him in upstate, and then they have to go back and dig him up because they're going to put some condos in or whatever, and he has to tell Karen he hit a skunk. Like, it's a whole thing, and like you said, this is the unraveling. This is the fatal mistake of Tommy. This is his fatal flaw. He gets pissed off. He can't take the ribbing, and obviously, Homeboy pushed it too far, but he was a made guy. Okay, yeah, so they don't have their made man Tommy, but that definitely leads to Tommy's downfall, because they kill him when they're gonna make him, they're gonna give him his button, and they kill him, and you know at this point, Henry's already been in and out of jail. Him and Bob De Niro got what 10 years for It wasn't for the airport heist. What the fuck they get 10 years for? They only got 10 years for something, but he was down in Atlanta. He ends up in jail with Paulie for a year and some other people, but he starts selling drugs, and that's when you talked about earlier. Paulie was like, you know, I don't care what you did in the inside, you did what you had to do. We're not doing that shit anymore.
Right.
But he keeps selling drugs out of Pittsburgh. He's thinking he's being like super clever. He's obviously not being super clever. And
I noticed in your review you picked up on the you know, how this is gangsters doing stuff in the kitchen, which the metaphor of like good Italian cooking and relating that to mob life is like a big thing here. And like I remember watching this and being like, wow, how are they getting all this stuff in prison? Then I watch it back and Karen's like sneaking it all in for him, so it's not quite as glamorous as what it seems at first, but I like how this like metaphor of good cooking is like how he sees his life. You know, got to keep stirring the sauce, keep it going, but I got all this stuff on the side, and then by the end, I mean, being a schmuck is just like eating egg noodles and ketchup. Just nasty.
It is. That is quite nasty. That I was not actually making that reference there that you did with everything good on the outside. I was totally referencing another movie.
Yeah.
Well, what would she do? Well, she comes home from work and finds a bunch of fucking gangsters in her kitchen doing a bunch of gangster shit. What do you think she would do?
Okay. A
Yeah.
little Pulp Fiction action. Okay.
Yeah, it was a little Pulp Fiction. I mean, a bunch of gangsters in the kitchen doing gangster shit, bro. Like,
And yeah, this coke business definitely takes over the second half of the film and gives it this manic pacing, which kind of turned me off the first few times I watched it, because he was going here to there and he's like so busy and he's getting followed by these helicopters. Like, what's going on?
yeah, well, especially that last sequence, where I think he's paranoid because he's doing all the coke and he's doing all this and he's being slick and he's using, these people coming in on the airport and all of this, and he's got his girlfriend, which he's already told her one time, use the fucking dishwasher. This is enough way to put us away for life. And then when they do get arrested, I mean, they've got everything. They've got him on tape. They've got the whole kit and caboodle, and
not to mention everybody they were hanging out with all gets killed because of Sam Jackson messing up. I guess getting the truck with the whatever heist they did from the airline.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't just that Sam Jackson did that. I mean, they were also like, "Hey, don't spend this money."
Oh, right. And then everybody,
the guy
throwing their stuff.
He was just bitching about to get his money. The one guy that buys the pink caddy, the other guy buys the $20,000 coat. So pretty much
Henry buys the most expensive white fake Christmas tree or whatever.
Yeah, he bought the most expensive tree, and then he buys the wife the necklace and a big fat stack of cash, and he gets out of prison, immediately puts him in this new fancy house. I will say the part where they have the remote and the wall opens up and they got the TV and like the record player and everything, that is dope as fuck. And that would be like if I ever just had a theater or a man cave or whatever, I would definitely have some shit where like the wall fucking open and like the screen and shit was there, because that was dope as fuck. Not gonna lie.
I already mentioned Tommy getting killed whenever he goes to get made. Very sad there, but he really dug his own grave there. Helicopters stir the sauce, get rid of the guns. Karen is on board to do all this, this running around with the coke, so she's fully bought into this enterprise. But yet the dumb smuggler girl breaks the rules, uses the house phone. But I mean, the cops tell her, Karen, that like they already had tons of recordings on them already. So yeah, it was a lot leading up to this, so they were not careful.
No, they weren't near as careful as they needed to be. Also, like, he's making all of this money, and they had no money stored away. Like, obviously they couldn't use a bank because that can be traced and everything. But when she flushed the coke down the toilet, he freaks out once he gets out of jail for this, because that was all the money they were going to have. It was like $60,000 worth of cocaine or whatever. But it's like, bro, he was like, they were never going to find it. She's like, bro, they were in the house. The only thing I guess she could have done is put it in the same place she put the gun, which was in her underwear. With the robe, but apparently they brought her in too, like they knew. So I don't think that was a good hiding place per se.
Yep, and that's the downfall. The rat comes out because he kind of can smell it in the air that they're going to send him out of town to go get whacked. So he has to take action for himself. He goes and joins up with witness protection and points out De Niro and Paulie in court, and kisses the mob life goodbye as he becomes a regular square.
Yeah, he goes to Paulie and he tries to, oh, I'm good now, da 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 da, and Paulie gives him $3,200, and which $3,200 in 1980 is a lot of money. It's a lot more than it is now, but still probably ain't getting you very far when you think you're about to get murdered. And and then he goes and he meets Mr. Conway and Bob De Niro, and he makes sure he wasn't followed, and he asked him to do a hit, which he had never asked him to do before. And so he's like, "Yep, I would never would have came back alive." And he gives up everybody, and tried to order spaghetti marinara, and got egg noodles and ketchup. Which, shame on you for egg noodles and ketchup. Shame, the shame. I'm not even Italian, but the shame.
Verdict here. Goodfellas does an amazing job at like disguising mob life as glorious when it's actually quite horrifying with how you'll end up in the end. This is a masterpiece of mob movies, one of Marty's best, and very thankful that you sat me down on one cold night in January during a blizzard to watch this amazing movie for the first time.
Oh, dude, that blizzard was so fun. I remember like we were drinking, we went to the fucking CVS, like we got guacamole, Doritos, and I didn't like guacamole, but I love the guacamole chips, and I love guacamole now. But yeah, no, that was I mean, crazy to think that was a whole other lifetime ago, dude. Mm-hmm. It really
back in 04.
Crazy. Yeah, long into 03, start of 04. Yeah, that was a long time ago. 20 years ago, brother. That's pretty nuts.
All right, so what's your next pick?
Would you like to wager?
Did you want to say a verdict on Goodfellas? I suppose.
Oh, I mean, it's 5 stars. It's easy. Like, this is not even a question. It's 5 stars. Like,
yeah. Like,
if I did a
Same
top
here.
Probably like a top 100 list, which I think is just too hard for me to do. This would probably be in the top 10. If it's not in the top 10, it's in like the top 15. It is fantastic. It's not my favorite Marty movie. It's like my second favorite Marty movie, but still, there would probably be a lot of his movies that I've seen in there. But based off of the actor that I gave you for the quote earlier and the director, would you like to wager a guess?
And that movie was Lebowski. Big Lebowski with John Goodman.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have me watch the Flintstones, right?
No.
Oh, Barton Fink? John Goodman. Where are we going with John Goodman?
I feel like there's some boys and their bottoms are soggy.
Oh, we're gonna watch Oh Brother Where Art Thou from the Coens.
Yes, yep. Oh Brother Where Art Thou? I have not seen that.
I am the man of
I have not seen that since probably around the time it came out. I guess I have to look at what year. I think I was
Constant
still
Sorrow?
pretty young.
Man of Constant Sorrow? Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, it's a good one. I haven't seen it in a long time, and now that I've seen more of their movies, I want to go back and take a look at it and see if there's some other things that I've picked up or might have missed or something like that.
Okay. And our next episode will wrap up my series on Joey's favorites. So, of course, that means we're finishing up with Old Boy.
Fuck yes, let's go.
And I'm also gonna watch Mean Girls and probably mention that in Good, Bad, and the Ugly. So you can or cannot brush up on it, but we'll discuss that one as well.
The original or the new one?
Probably the original. I thought about maybe us collaborating with going to see the new one, but not sure how that's gonna play out. So be safe. I'll just make sure to watch the original.
I mean, I will have you tread lightly on what you have to say about a movie. I mean, it's not good, but I love it. It's great, but it's not. But that'll be an interesting, another interesting like juxtaposition where we have this very violent Asian movie, an Old Boy, like Tokyo Gore Police, and we had that paired with a music movie in Whiplash. And this is going to be paired with Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Actually, there's so many ties in this episode to other shit. So this was the second movie of the 3 movies that Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone are in together that we've done. We've done 2 of their 3 movies.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. So there's another tie-in. And there was something else somewhere that I had already forgotten. But yeah, and this is our second, third. I don't know. We did Fargo, and we did something else with the Coens, I thought, but I can't remember. Did we do Hail Caesar?
That sounds right.
I mean, I have the list right here. I mean, I could look.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you had me watch Hail Caesar again.
There's Fargo. paired with The Duelist. Oh, I guess the other thing I was thinking about is like, man, when we did that movies you thought were snubbed episode, I could have done La La Land.
Yeah.
That was a really cool episode. There was a lot of movies in it too. Shit, but
King's Speech, Social Network, Crash, Brokeback Mountain.
Yeah. And I was
that was a whopper.
Very happy. I'd only ever seen Crash. I was very happy to watch all of those. Like for all of the the pitfalls I think that we had in season 1. I don't know, pitfalls maybe isn't just figuring things out.
Mm-hmm.
There was definitely some movies that I was not about. I feel like we've done much better going forward. Just in general, I think with both of us picking movies that the other one likes. Like I intentionally did not pick Glass Onion for the podcast. With how much you did not like Knives Out. So yeah, and then we did do Hail Caesar. So I guess this will be like our third Coen movie. So yeah, no, that'll be I think that'll be a good time, and yeah, to finish out Old Boy, because there's this Boondock Saints, and yeah, no, that'll be good. I'm interested to see what your next theme you're gonna do is, since you've been on this little theme kick. I'm in a theme right now, if you haven't figured it out, from this movie and the movie I just picked, but
oh.
Yeah.
What is that? La La Land and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
What are both of those movies?
American
musicals.
Or the same Oh Brother, Where Art Thou.
Let me rephrase. Not musicals. Music-based movies.
I can kind of go with that.
Okay. And to be fair, what I remember from that movie is the musical group, the Soggy Bottom Boys, singing. That is the thing that I remember. So in my head, that is a musical. It's not a musical because the music doesn't progress the storyline like dialogue.
Them becoming a band is a huge plot point in the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a music movie. Yes. So.
All right, and if you'd like us to answer any questions on the show, we're happy to do so. Just email them to the Average Joe's Movie Club at gmail.com. So, Joey, why do we do this show?
Because we love talking about movies.
Good night, everybody.
Night.